You're hoping if you spin the chamber enough times, you're gonna catch a bullet.
With COVID-19 changing the film industry every day, some studios continue to put out premium films to their subscription services. Netflix has been leading the charge in that category so far in 2020 and has delivered another action staple, sure to be penciled into many film-goer schedules for the foreseeable future. Extraction, one of the first big-budget action movies for 2020, continues Netflix's hot streak of bringing in big-budget filmmakers and producers to fill the ever-growing thirst for more content to fill subscribers' feeds. So, does Extraction bring the bullets and bloodshed it's promising? Or is it another throwaway Netflix filler destined to enter the void in Netflix hell? I am the overdramatic Joe Flaherty, and this is my review for Netflix's overdramatic Extraction. And before getting to the review, I would like to apologize for any mispronunciations of any international cast members' names. Feel free to comment below on the video with any correction to my pronunciations, and I'll make sure to use them correctly for any subsequent films I see the performers in. Extraction started out as a screenplay by Joe Russo, based on the graphic novel Ciudad by Andy Parks and the Russo brothers. The film is produced by the Russos as well, and is directed by the stuntman turned director Sam Hargrave, who worked with the Russos on MCU films and as a stunt double for Chris Evans' Steve Rogers. Filming took place in several international locations, including Mumbai, India, and Dhaka, Bangladesh. March 2019 saw the end of principal photography, and the film's working title went through the slot machine, which is that intern writing room that comes in to make the film more marketable to mass audiences. It was initially called Dhaka, but was changed to Out of the Fire before the final title was revealed to be Extraction. Extraction.
Offering, we're not into it, don't care, couldn't care less. Goodbye.
Yes, modern marketing. Well, while the title may have you confused with your local Walmart bargain bin product, Extraction comes from the house of Netflix, who spent a modest $65 million on the production, which is a surprise considering expansive action sequences and locations. Clocking in at 117 minutes, Extraction was released to mixed reviews on April 24, 2020. Extraction stars Chris Hemsworth as Tyler Rake, a former SASR operator turned mercenary, who takes up a contract with a team of fellow mercs, including Golshifta Farahani as Neek Khan, and the director Sam Hargrave, who makes a cameo here as a sniper. Their team travels to Dhaka to extract Rakesh Jaiswal as Ovi, the son of an Indian crime lord who is in prison and can't protect his son from the incompetence of his guards, and his badass babysitter, played by Randeep Hooda. Ovi has been kidnapped by another drug lord, who is played by Priyanshu Panyuli, whose sociopathic actions and menacing soldiers are hoping to get some sort of revenge ransom from Ovi's father. It's not really clear exactly what the villain motivation is, other than that, but the film finds Chris Hemsworth slaughtering hundreds of soldiers to get to Ovi, and Rake ends up needing to extract both him and Ovi out of the city, now under lockdown. And yeah, that's the main brushstrokes of the plot that are splattered throughout the movie. This is where most of my main criticisms of the movie come into play. Extraction offers the bare bones of a plot, and many action movies offer up the same, and I'm not talking about cliches. In my opinion, cliches are invalid criticisms of the film. Rather, it is the quality of what has been written for the film where criticisms come into place. That quality here is offered into many social commentaries and metaphors that are subtly introduced into Joe Russo's script, such as child soldiers and foreign policies of international mercenary groups. But the film never spends too much time on this, with many of the colorful moments being dropped in order to aid the pacing of the film, which ironically towards the end feels a little bit too rushed, with not enough there to make any main plot points matter to my enjoyment of the action sequences. Extraction feels meaningless. My main problem being that if a screenwriter implements aspects of more development or hints at a deeper story throughout a film, then they should use that. Instead, here we lose much of those ideas as bodies pile up and blood and bullets obviously fly in every direction. There's little in the way of character development here, with some, albeit nice, introductions to our main players, including a fantastical introduction to Hemsworth's Rake, but none of the characters are given anything deeper beyond surface level emotions. Some of the action scenes use the narrative of the fights to choreograph some of these emotions for the characters, and we do get some emotional beats here throughout the action sequences, and several moments are spent trying to develop Rake's backstory, but it gets lost in the shuffle and probably filed away in the editing room. Instead, we get dissolved flashbacks that merely hint at the emotional levels that are shown mostly through Hemsworth's performances in those action sequences. There is a middle section where everything slows to a stop, and the characters of Ovi and Rake are allowed to breathe. And we are introduced to a rather fun cameo I'm sure you'll recognize as one of Netflix's best sheriffs in town, and the only meaningful surprise to the plot. But it's too little too late, and we are quickly back into the action in a climactic finish that feels very rushed and not as well paced out as the rest of the film. While the action is fantastic in moments, as I'll discuss later, the climactic battle fails to live up to the expectations of what had come before, and features much of the confusing, edited to a tomato paste action sequences that have become so ingrained in many Hollywood productions. I feel like Russo and Hargrave were running out of ways to have Chris Hemsworth escape the odds against him, and could only manage to come up with a simple river route that seems to be used only to force the re-entry of characters from earlier in the film to fill their contracted screen time.
Just let me do it. Just let me do something good, something right. No, can't you trust me?
No.
Good.
Many of these issues are not present in the first half of the film though. The pacing is fast and quick, with nice introductions to all of the main players and what's at stake. Much of these moments, and to be honest the entire film, are carried by the outstanding cast. Hemsworth shines most here, showing that he can clearly be the leading man that can carry his career outside of his eventual end at Disney and Marvel. He brings a ferociousness to him. It reminds me of the no bullshit performances like Keanu Reeves in the John Wick films. He does a lot of his own stunt work here, and it helps enhance the realism of the experience and gives more believability to his performance. He is aided by a star-turning performance from young Indian actor Rakesh Jaiswal, who allows the action to carry his character, never getting in the way, but standing out with many of the emotional and dialogue-filled moments, including the half-baked middle half portion of the film I mentioned earlier. Gulshifte Farahani has been in the spotlight before. She was nominated for the Most Promising Actress Award for The Patient Stone at the 2014 Seizure Awards in France, but here she inhabits her role with the same skill and believability that becomes even more involved in the climax of the film, although I wish she had more to do in her limited role. Randeep Hooda might be the biggest scene stealer of the show, with a lot of supporting character development being given to his soldier, who is tasked for rescuing Ovi from his captors, and eventually Hemsworth as well. He has many moments of conflict with the Australian actor, many of these being the big highlighted fight scenes in the film's several action sequences. And speaking of action sequences, outside the climax, welcome to the party, Sam Hargrave. Hargrave brings much of his stunt work experience here, and inspired by many new action filmmaking styles, brings many creative, acrobatic ballets of brutal violence to the screen, including a mauling and grueling fight towards the beginning of the film that involves a family-friendly use of a rake. You'll see it when you see it. Hargrave clearly has the skills to become a big-time director. He takes advantage of the modest budget to bring to life the international locations, which add a nice and different setting that we aren't used to in American productions. Although I do recommend checking out many of the great action films that have come out of India in the recent years, and Sam Hargrave does those films justice. There's a one-take action sequence towards the end of the first half that I am definitely saying is one of the best action sequences in film history, at least this century, an all-timer that evolves and changes, showing a perfect example of how to brilliantly choreograph an action sequence. Directing great scenes is very much a shared skill set. With writing instead, the computer key is replaced with the camera. And I can totally see a future Marvel headquarters for Sam Hargrave, with that already established relationship, working with the Russo brothers here. And speaking of the Russo brothers, this is the second Russo brother production that involves an established Marvel actor in the main role, after they had finished out the first run of MCU films, with Chadwick Boseman starring in their produced film 21 Bridges last year. Extraction is a step above that one, mostly due to performances by the fantastic international cast and a great debut from filmmaker Sam Hargrave. Although much of the film loses its focus, doesn't offer much in terms of character development, and at the end of the film, I found myself not really caring for the denouement. And while there's potential for a sequel, I think Extraction best serves as a nice sizzle reel for its talented cast in front of and behind the camera. It's still a fun time though, and that folks one-take action sequence is truly one for the ages. I'm gonna give Extraction a B-.
Okay. No. Yes.
Thanks for watching everyone, and welcome to Cup of Joe Media. Look out for a recap video of the films I have seen so far this year, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more film related content. And enjoy a cup of movie magic today.